This is the Code, Deploy, Go Live podcast, episode 16 with Julie Turner and Andrew Connell. This episode is available as a video on our YouTube channel, which is linked from the show notes. Now, in this episode, Julie and I are going to tackle what's on most Microsoft 365 developers' minds. And that's the recent announcement by Microsoft of the SharePoint Framework public roadmap that they announced in September of 2025. But that's not all. We're also going to talk about this new advisory committee that's made up by the community for the SharePoint Framework. Another big topic is the upcoming SharePoint Framework 1.22 release and why you should absolutely be paying attention to it. It's going to feature a brand new build toolchain, but we got to get into the episode to hear that. And we're also going to answer some of the frequently asked questions that people have been asking about when they looked at the roadmap. Are you ready? Because we sure are, and I can guarantee you we've got opinions. This discussion was recorded live October the 1st, 2025. Julie, welcome to Q4.
Yeah, it is Q4. Good point. October the 1st. October the 1st.
How are you today?
Well, I am pretty darn good, Andrew Connell. And you know why I'm pretty darn good?
I do, but I want you to share it with everybody else.
Because today, although nobody's going to hear this for a few days or until next week, today, Sympraxis Consulting announced our new hire, which is Mark Cashman has joined Sympraxis Consulting as a full-time employee.
Where do I know that name from?
I'm so excited. Full
That's
disclosure,
awesome.
He's been consulting with us for a couple of months now, like just, working with us, getting involved. And some people kind of maybe figured it out a little bit because he has been on camera on Ask Sympraxis for like the past 4 episodes or so. So there was some chit chat I heard about, but yeah, we're really excited to have him on board. It's really great. Mark Anderson and I were a little shocked that he was open to the conversation, but we had some great conversations and it just worked out, and it's a great move and we're really excited about it. So that's the big news, the biggest news I have going on.
That's awesome.
Pretty pumped. So.
That's awesome. Well, good person joining a good group of people. So, that's a great, it sounds great.
He fits right in.
That's good. That's really good. Well, I'm glad that he's landed somewhere nice. I assume he's happy because he's joined you guys. So that's going to be great. Is he going to be at the Collab Day? Is it Collab Days?
He is going to be at Collab Days New England. So what we have started doing is that because it's really hard, because we all the Sympraxians work out of their home, and it's really hard for us to get together, but it is important for us to get together. And we were kind of doing it with conferences, but with Derek and Patrick in Iceland and, the rest of us spread out across the United States, it's just tricky for all of us to end up at the same conference. So that wasn't really working. And so we've made Collab Days New England, because Sympraxis is the primary sort of community sponsor, in that we are the ones who coordinate and run it. We've sort of taken that opportunity, since all the Sympraxians sort of come together, to do an offsite a couple of days before it. So we all go to Burlington on Wednesday, and we'll spend the entire day at the MTC. We get a room and we have lunch, and, we just spend time talking about how Sympraxis is working and, just basically the nuts and bolts of our business and how we're running it and what might need to be better or worse, or what we can change or what we can do better in the next year. And that has been really powerful. So we're excited to do that again. And Mark is joining us for that for the first time. So that'll be really good. And then we all work together to get all the stuff and do all the coordination on Thursday to get everything set up. And then Friday, the event, Thursday night, the speaker dinner, Friday, the event. And Mark is speaking. He's doing 2 sessions with Sue Hanley. So, and they look real fun and real good. So we're really excited. I'm super glad.
After so many years at Microsoft, I'm really curious if he, what kinds of things he's going to say at different sessions, or just what kinds of things that I'm interested. I don't know the Mark Cashman that's not Microsoft, and so
yeah,
I'm not saying he was reserved and couldn't say a lot of stuff and all that kind of stuff before. I'm not implying that or insinuating that, but there's a certain degree of there's things you're not going to say because of who you work for. And if anything, you're going to I don't want to say censor, but you're going to just you're going to change some stuff up, right?
Sure.
So I'm just curious now, like going, Mark Cashman Unplugged. What's up, dude?
Yeah. No, it's interesting. And I don't know. I mean, after 20 something years, do you just undo that in a day? I don't think you do. I think it takes weeks and weeks and months of sort of understanding what your position is now that you don't have to speak under the auspices of that corporate umbrella. I think it'll be interesting. I don't know that he knows yet. So it'll be fun to discover.
That's cool. That's cool. Well, I'm happy for you guys. I'm happy for Mark. I'm looking forward to seeing him up in, and you, of course, and everybody else.
That was a given.
I'm very much looking forward to all of that, to seeing everybody up in Burlington. That's right.
Yes.
Burlington. Yep. In Burlington. And I'm also very much looking forward to stopping by Mike's Pastry, and getting stuff for my wife and my daughter. If I don't, then I will probably have to find a locksmith to get in the house. So looking forward to that too.
What are they like? What are they like from there?
Lobster tails and cannolis.
Yes. Well, yes.
Yeah, the kryptonite.
Hard to transport them and keep them super fresh. That's the
impossible.
only downside of that. Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to go on Saturday, so I don't leave until like Saturday afternoon. So I'm going to go on Saturday on the way back to the airport, and I haven't exactly decided how I'm going to do it. I'm trying to still do everything like not checking a bag, and so I don't know. I haven't figured it out yet, but
yeah,
I have
you
some
wouldn't
ideas.
be able to get pastries through the airport security.
You can. I've done it
Would
before.
You?
Yeah.
Oh, can you? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, bring yourself a couple of Ziploc bags. And I'll bring you some saran wrap, and you can wrap each one individually and then put it in the Ziploc bag and move all the air out of it, and that'll have your best chance. If you got them on the way in and we did all that and you put them in the freezer and then went home with them, they would actually probably stay pretty good. But,
maybe think about that. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I'm gonna give it a shot. And worst case, then we'll just be eating lobster tails and cannolis with like a fork or a spoon, and they're still probably going to be good. So they're all going to the same place anyway. So who cares?
Yeah, they are. Awesome. Well, very fun. What else is going on for you?
I'm in it's been rough the last few weeks. And I'm still trying to figure some of this stuff out. So I just started last week. So September the 24th, I started another cohort of my Teams application development accelerator. So learning how to build Teams apps. You went through it, and I am shocked at what's changed. So I knew back at the Build conference, they changed the the tooling. So we went from the Teams toolkit over to the Agents toolkit. And a lot of times it looked like it was just a marketing change. Not so much. Something else. So in May earlier this year, the group that did the Teams AI library, which was something that you would use to create custom engine agents, which is basically just a chatbot with AI. They announced like a beta of their V2 library, which was a completely different approach. Like they built their own NPM packages for basically replacing a ton of stuff that we were already doing with other JavaScript packages from the Teams developer experience group. So they had things, they even created their own graph client. They created their own graph types. I was like, what the hell are you guys doing?
We talked about that a little bit. Yeah.
So I was really frustrated by it at the time. I was like, why are you guys doing this? I mean, it looks like you're competing with, you even creating your own CLI to create Teams apps. Like, why not use the ATK? You've got a tool chain. Why are you fragmenting stuff? So I knew that was going on. And then Build happened, and I had a bunch more questions for them, and I was trying to understand the differences between some stuff, and I just got frustrated. Well, the Thursday before I started my class, so on September the 18th, they announced the V2 GA of the Teams AI library. It is not just an AI library. This is basically a brand new SDK for creating Teams apps. And not only did they do that, and I'm still trying to nail down exactly when this change happened, but I believe it happened sometime between Thursday, September the 18th, and Wednesday, September the 24th, that they shipped an update to the Teams toolkit, and all of the project templates for creating Teams apps have changed. Some of them are gone, and all of them are using the Teams AI library. And so stuff that you were used to doing is completely different. Like before, when you created a new Teams tab project and there was one of the options you could choose was the one that we all chose, it seems, was a tab with React and Fluent UI.
Sure,
and kind of self-explanatory what you got, but you also got in that project an Azure function to handle server-side stuff and an Azure function app to handle server-side stuff. And then you also got it was all configured for single sign-on.
Gone?
Not anymore. It's completely gone. And so now you get a single page, a single app that's not even set up as a single page app. And it is very confusing and hard on how you add multiple pages to this app if using their SDK, because they've done all these like wrappers to stuff that's already out of the box. Like they did take a dependency on Express.js and they say that, now you use this thing called app.tab to add a tab, but it hard codes a URL in there. It doesn't give you access to the underlying. It's like the first thing you end up doing is, if I want to have more than one tab in this project, I need to add in like the React router, and I need to make it more of a routable SPA, and just, it's frustrating. And so like all of my demos now have to be rebuilt at the same time, trying to figure out how all this stuff works. And I had there was no heads up. I had no idea that this was happening. And the thing that concerns me or frustrates me the most about it is that people who have done Teams app development before, if they went in to go create a brand new project today, they'd be completely lost. They're like, wait a minute. Azure function, how do I do single sign-on? Because you did all this stuff for me before. And in one sense, I kind of like the new approach, but in the other sense, this is so much of a change. You should have given us the old template should have still been there, and you shouldn't have forced this new one on. And to boot, none of the docs on learn.microsoft.com refer to the new SDK. They all still use the old stuff. And if you go to the site where the new Teams AI library v2 SDK is, it doesn't cover everything. And it doesn't cover like Teams toolkits or the agents toolkit stuff. So you got to figure out a lot of it on your own. It's incredibly frustrating. So,
can I just say, in foreshadowing our episode, this would be so unacceptable for the SharePoint framework, so unacceptable. There would be an uproar of epic proportions. The fact that there isn't speaks volumes about how much this toolkit is being used. And I would also like to say that I am so thrilled, so very, very thrilled that even though I know how to use it because you showed me, although apparently I don't know how to use it anymore, I am so glad that I spent that 8 hours of my personal time to reverse engineer it all, figure out how single sign-on worked, and ejected myself completely from Teams Toolkit / Agents Toolkit, and have a template for how to build one of these projects without it, and just importing the Teams.js library and doing everything else myself. So much more stable, so much more predictable. If I actually am going to build a Teams app now, I'll just use my own template, because there's no point in going to the Agents Toolkit or whatever, because you don't know any day of the week what you're going to get. I am so glad that I am not part of that thing. And I feel for you deeply, because you're trying to teach people, and for the rug to be ripped right out under you and have to pivot on a dime and be the expert on something that literally came out days ago is next level frustrating. And it's also super frustrating because you don't get a choice whether you upgrade or not. One thing I'll give the SharePoint framework is you get to choose if you upgrade to a certain extent. Yeah, no. You could still use the older versions of the share. Obviously, because if you want to do on-prem, you got to use 1.4. So you can not upgrade. The Agents Toolkit, being that Visual Studio Code plugin, you don't get a choice. It's upgraded for you, whether you want it to be or not.
I mean, I hear you. I like the toolkit. I like the Agents Toolkit. I like it a lot more than what we have with the SharePoint framework. I think that the flexibility of it that lets me go through and to do out of the box. It does great out of the box. of a brand new project, I don't have to mess with any of that stuff. And I have a pretty good like build pipeline and tool chain that I can customize to my heart's content. I do like all of that. The part that I'm just really been out of shape about is just such a reset on the project templates is like, I don't understand. It's like, it's an issue that I've had with the teams engineering group for a while. Look, that's the last thing I'll say on it, because I know we were talking about the SharePoint Framework roadmap thing for this episode, and we need to go there. But right. The thing with this is that I think I've long felt that one of the problems that the Teams group has had in terms of adoption on building Teams apps is the number and the frequency of resets they do to developers that are trying to build apps is such a turnoff. The last time I taught my accelerator, it finished in June, and I had a bunch of samples I needed to update because in the middle of it, they released the new toolkit with new project templates that were using things like the Agents SDK that I was using Bot Framework. And so I was like, well, I got to fix all this stuff. I'm so glad that I never had a chance to get that stuff done because it's all going to have to get redone again. So it's frustrating. But I don't think, fundamentally, I don't think it's another part of Microsoft 365. And I think we're going to talk about this with the SharePoint Framework as well. I think there's a significant disconnect at Microsoft, specifically around the Microsoft 365 group, and not really having empathy or understanding what your customers are building and how they're building them. I think, and that's frankly, that's a great way for us to transition into what we wanted to talk about today too. So how about, I'll wrap a bow up on the team stuff. Nobody wants to hear me talk about that anymore. At least right now they don't. If you do, hey, drop a comment. I'm still learning how this stuff works. At the same time, trying to go through and build new samples and get them all recorded. So drop a comment. Let us know what you think if you've been experiencing this and kind of what you see. Some of the stuff too, I should put as a disclaimer, this is still pretty raw. It's only about a week. I'm only about a week into it. And this isn't the only thing I'm working on. We'll talk about the other stuff in just a minute. So I'm having I may be not seeing something that and making something a little bit harder than it really is. But at any rate, let's just put it to bed. We're not going to put a pin in it. We're just not going to come back to it. Let's put it to bed. How about you say we dive in and start talking about some SharePoint Framework stuff, Julie?
Sounds good. Let's do it.
Julie, it was one of probably the most significant announcements from the SharePoint Framework team that came out on Thursday, September the 25th. See, the context of all this is a little bit frustrating for me. Like, this happens on the 18th and then the 24th and the 25th. So before we go into that, I want to talk a little bit about something else that's directly related. This was part of the announcement that you and I are both involved in, that I do think is important. And I do think it's important for customers to understand this. But I also want to stress that this is new and we don't know like what the long tail is or what the long-term effects are of it, or if it's even going to really even be useful, or if it's just let's check the box off, let's do this, but is it going to have staying power? One of the things that Microsoft announced as part of their big announcement that we'll have in our show notes on their blog was they announced this new thing called the Community Advisory Committee and Feedback Loop. And effectively what this is, it's just for SharePoint Framework. And effectively what it is it's a group, I'll quote it from their statement. It's a group of non-Microsoft people who are actively involved in our product and release planning. We're excited about this new engagement model and we'll collaborate closely with the committee members to have an active engagement with our product group to plan together next steps within our journey. So today they have 11 people from the community. All of them, I believe all of them are Microsoft MVPs, so we're all under NDA. I would like to congratulate you for being named to this committee.
Thank you, and you for being named to this committee.
There's a lot of really good people here. So let's go for the bottom. Let's go from the top here. Stefan Bauer, Julie Turner. Oh my gosh, some of these people you see names and sometimes you've never like said them, and so you're like, oh shoot. Hugo Bernier, Don Kirkman, Derek Cash Peterson, David Warner, Chris Kent, Bo Cameron, Anoop Tati, myself, Andrew Connell, and Adam, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Adam.
I don't know either.
What'd you kick?
What?
I said it really maybe. Fast. I hope they got close.
Yeah. Sorry, Adam.
Yeah. Sorry, Adam. But the idea here, so just behind the scenes on it, is that there is like a separate team or channel that we have inside Teams with Microsoft. And it's kind of like a back channel to where they share some stuff and like, let us know what you think. For example, we saw this blog post before it went live. A bunch of us had an opportunity to provide our feedback. And there's some other things that were announced as part of the roadmap that we've been able to give our feedback and thoughts on as well. I don't think, I wouldn't say there's too much involvement. It's new, but I don't think I would say there's too much involvement in us like planning future initiatives and stuff. It's more like right now it's more of a feedback committee.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not so much of a they'll ask, what do you want? But it's just more like a kind of a heads up and having more like intimate discussions. So like, here's a trusted loop from Microsoft engineers to go like, who can we talk to other than just saying, I know Andrew, or I know Julie, or I know Bo, something like that.
Right. They're formalizing some loose conversations that were kind of always happening in the background. We work with internal Microsoft engineers a lot and talk to them a lot, especially being part of the PNP or Microsoft 365 SharePoint and Power Platform community. The new name. Just want it to be PNP again. Anyway, being part of that PNP team, we talk to we're friendly with them. We're friends. We talk to them a lot anyway. And so inevitably we talk about the stuff going on in the Microsoft ecosystem. So, there was an informal sort of committee before that would make comments. It would generally kind of trickle back, but there wasn't the formality that I think that we have now. And the formality brings with it, I think, a little bit more rigor, right? Like they have to sort of respond to these comments that are being made and address them in one way or another. Like we're either going to do something about what you've brought up or we're not. And hopefully we'll get reasons and whatever. And I think I can kind of see some of that happening already. Obviously we can't talk about it, what's happening publicly too much, but I think already that is the formality of having one place to just talk about the SharePoint framework, where it's going and what changes have been made is a powerful and positive move forward. I'm happy that they made that effort and felt like they could embrace that. So.
Yeah, I think the way I'll say it, I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm guarded and cautiously optimistic, but I'm kind of, frankly, I've been doing it for 8 years. I've seen stuff like, not like this, but I've seen stuff like this before. I guess I'm hopeful, I'm optimistic, but I'm also very, very much in the prove it camp right now. I'd like to see I'll play and I'd like to be involved in it. And I just hope that it actually does have, we do see some good downstream effects of it. So that's a big piece to this. A big piece to it as well is that we've been having, prior to this committee being publicly announced, we've been having a bunch of discussions about things that are on the roadmap. And so we know a little bit we can talk a little bit about some of that stuff. I don't think there's too much that's like too private stuff that we can't really share with it. But I do want to go through some of the things in the roadmap that they went over today. And mainly they kind of scoped out the next 3 versions of what their plans are for the SharePoint framework. So what do you say we kind of...
I just want to comment on that. There's not... The roadmap thing that got released is not very much different from what Vesa shares bi-weekly on one of the PMP community calls. So I don't know that I'm all that. I'm like, yeah, okay. So you just put a blog post out that puts the roadmap that he shares over there in a public blog. That one, I don't know. I'm not overly impressed by that one. That one's like great.
I'm right there with you on that. I'm very much right there with you. When I saw this, I was just like, you do this you also do this in the past. And when you do this, a lot of times the stuff on that list, this is more like I talked to some customers and they're like going, oh, cool, I'm going to plan on this. It's coming out next May. And I'm like, I wouldn't do it like that. I wouldn't treat it like that. These are more aspirational things. And all of a sudden it may just disappear from the roadmap or just not even show up in a release and then never talked about again. So
So I guess what I would say is I'm hoping that by making it a little more formal, there's a little bit more authenticity behind the dates and the targets and the items on this list. And I hope that the items on this list get a little bit more robust, because for the last several years, they felt like non-starters. So I don't even think I've looked at like there's nothing on the roadmap. Like my brain has already set to a pattern, a Pavlov's dog's pattern of there's nothing on there for me to look at. So I don't need to pay attention.
So it's funny you say that because you haven't missed anything. Because I do a lot of work on the SharePoint developer docs. That's it's a job that I serve with Microsoft where I review content that's being added to the SharePoint developer docs that's being submitted by other teams like SharePoint Embedded or like declarative customization, list form, JSON-based declarative list customizations. What is that called?
List
what Chris
customization?
Does.
List formatting.
Thank you. List formatting. Yeah, all the JSON stuff.
Okay, I'm like, where are you going?
I don't know. I've been teaching already for like 2 hours today. I've got 4 hours of sleep in me. I'm sorry.
It's all good. No, it's all good. I'm just like, I don't know how to fill in the blank because I don't know what you're talking about.
I know there's a blank, but I can't like get close to it.
This is not a Mad Lib. We are winning.
Right. And so I see like the stuff that's come across. Well, I'm curious. It probably will be out by the time this episode comes out, and I can grab a link for it and put it in the show notes. But I've written an article about one of the big things we're going to talk about in just a minute. That we will, and as part of that writing that article, I also went through and had to look at a couple other things that were being submitted, and I noticed that Microsoft went in and updated the roadmap page that is in the SharePoint developer docs. It hadn't been updated since 2022, so a lot of stuff was removed from it. And I was like, I saw this like red stuff in like the Git diff, and I'm like, oh yeah, we never had that. We never got that. We never got that. We never got that. So like, we'll see. Okay. So here's what I thought we would do. The advisory committee was one thing. The team's rant, Mark Cashman, was another thing. Let's go through like some of these roadmap things. And we could probably talk about this for like 2 hours, except that we can't because we both have commitments that we have to hit as well. So let's go through a couple of these and get some thoughts on it. The first one is the one that's the most immediate, that's making a bunch of the news, and that is the next version. So we're going to go through the next three planned versions that are SharePoint Framework version 1.22, 1.23, 1.24 that are going to drop in October, like this month, October 2025. The next one, 23, is February 2026, and 1.24 is going to drop in May of 2026. So, and some of it's pretty nebulous. So the one for October 2025 says, point number 1, addressing NPM audit reported security issues on the dependency tree. Item number 2 is transitioning from Gulp to an open Webpack-based toolchain orchestrated by Heft. So I will give you a quick synopsis on both of them. And then Julie, I'm going to turn over to you and see what you have to say about these guys. And then I'll throw some stuff in maybe as well. So the addressing NPM audit issues, when you first create a brand new SharePoint Framework project, it does NPM install. It runs through and it lists out a ton of packages that have dependencies, vulnerabilities or have been deprecated. And the vulnerabilities range from critical to medium or low. I think last time I checked, it was like 79 different instances of different NPM packages. Microsoft has said that they are going to, they said it publicly, that they're going to eliminate all of the findings that are there. So that's one thing they've said. The other one that they talked about with the transitioning from Gulp to an open Webpack-based toolchain orchestrated by Heft. Let me just change this in a nutshell. Your build toolchain is going to change. And Microsoft is going to get rid of Gulp and is going to use now instead the same toolchain that they use at Microsoft for creating SharePoint Framework stuff. There's a big history in this I can go into later. that is based on something called RushStack, which is a mono repo manager that Microsoft has created and made open source. So if you've heard of things like Larna, Turbo Repo, workspaces that NPM and PNPM and Yarn have, or NX as another one, those are mono repos. Part of RushStack is also a orchestrator tool or task runner called Heft. So we're ditching Gulp and replacing it with Heft. And Heft is a opinionated, it's an opinionated version of Gulp. Under the covers, we're still using Webpack. So both of those things, two big things that are supposed to happen in 1.22 that's supposed to ship by the end of this month in October.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts, Julie? Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts you want to share, Julie?
Have both. I have ones I want to share and ones I will not share. So I think that the first one is getting addressed by the second. I think the way that they are managing to get the audit report issue solved, or mostly solved, although it's not going to stay that way, but the way they're probably getting there is because they're going to switch to Heft, thereby they have more complete control over the dependency tree, and thereby they will be able to eliminate those audit findings. Now, I will say there are formalized large organizations with very strict security rules that NPM audit log issue is a big deal. Like, it's a huge deal. For 98 to 99% of the world, yes, you can see that it's happening, but you can understand that those issues are with the dev pipeline and have nothing to do with the production code, and thereby they're not really all that big of a concern. They're only a concern from the perspective of your development environment. And so I just don't really think there's something that you need to worry about. And we have, in large organizations where I've used SharePoint Framework, we've been able to sort of prove that out and get exceptions for it. So, whatever. The transition to Gulp, from Gulp, to Heft, my strongest opinion is, okay, if you're going to do that, then it is no longer 1.22, it's 2.0. And the reason that I feel so strongly about that is because if you remove Gulp from the toolchain, that means that the Gulp file no longer would be used. And thereby, if you're creating a brand new solution or you're upgrading the solution, you will have to find a different way to do any Webpack config changes that you might have done previously, or suppressions of, build warnings that was done a lot for CSS variables, etc. Any of the things that you were augmenting in that Gulp file, you now need to find a different way to do it. And that's a major change, in my opinion. And so, that's one of the first things that I said. Like, I think we need to signal to the world that this is, if you move to this version, this is a major change. And so I think they're going to try to address this in some way, but I think it's a big deal.
Yeah, I agree. It's a huge deal. I was not of the, I did not share the same opinion that you just shared of it being, this should be a V2. I do now. The more I think about it, you're definitely right, that it is definitely a V2 thing. So we'll see. I mean, if you see a V2, I guess one thing I told one of my customers was like, you may see Microsoft come out you may see a SharePoint Framework V2 come out in October or November, and you may not see this 1.22. I'm like, it's same. It's the exact same thing. There is no V2 coming out or anything like that. This is simply saying that if they do call it V2, it is a V2 to signify how big of a change this really is. The slight backstory to it is that years ago, we had one tool chain. Microsoft decided to, because we were asking for so long, the community being that we needed more transparency and more ability to customize the tool chain, that Microsoft forked the build tool chain for SharePoint Framework into something that they call Gulp Core Build, which you can see that in the dependencies. And then there's the one that is part of the whole like RushStack concept that the rest of Microsoft was using, or big groups of Microsoft were using. The challenge is that Microsoft the SharePoint Framework team had issues with that after a while. So now they decided to go, we're going to switch back to bring it back together. And we're going to use the one that is more the heft-based one for doing SharePoint Framework development on first-party stuff. But third-party, all of us in the community, we're using this Gulp core build. The problem with the Gulp core build one is that meant that Microsoft's SharePoint Framework team was doing the maintenance of the entire dependency tree in addition to SharePoint Framework stuff. Why do we have all those dependency warnings and audit findings and stuff? Because they just didn't stay on top of it. And stuff just got old and long in the tooth. So partly like what you were just saying, because this whole model is switching back to a heft-based tool chain and not a RushStack plus heft-based tool chain and not a Gulp-based tool chain, this is going to allow them to fold in and get the benefits of all of the dependency management that's happened by the rest of the Rush team and the team that works on RushStack and all that kind of stuff. Okay, cool. But what that also means is that Microsoft is now saying, we're now going to make only one tool chain, and that one tool chain, we're imposing that on everybody else in the community. Like you said, the only way today to be able to customize the tool chain is, for the most part, we do most of that with modifications to Webpack. So Webpack is used to create the bundles, and then they also have plugins that are used to create like the manifest and some other stuff that's generated as part of the build. When the only way that we can make changes to Webpack today is by hooking into the tool chain, and that's done through Gulp. If Gulp goes away, you lose that ability. And so now what that means is that we have to have a way to be able to still modify and work with Webpack. I'm just going to say that right now we're still early on this, even though that they say this has been the longest beta. Date doesn't show activity. Like how long has been the beta doesn't show how much activity has been there, because the beta that I've been playing with is the same beta that's been there since June, and it's now October. And it wasn't until literally today that they just shipped a second beta of it. I haven't looked at it yet. I mean, I'm looking at it on my screen, but I haven't played with it yet.
Yeah.
And to see what kind of progress there's been made there. But I am curious to see how certain things are addressed. I will just say that I'm of the opinion, I think Microsoft grossly underestimates the number of customers who have had to modify Webpack to do different things in their different organizations, from managing source maps to doing Gulp bundle analyzers to doing anything with CI and CD, anything that's enterprise level based stuff. I don't think that they realize how many people are doing that. So I know they've taken the feedback that both you and I have given them. I've been working a lot with them over the last few weeks with this. I'm really curious to play with the beta 2 with this, but all I would say is that today, if you are, I guess I'll say it like this. One of the questions that people have asked me, they're like going, I love it. Is this, or one of the first questions I got was somebody said, getting rid of Gulp, is that a good or a bad thing? And I'm like, well, it depends. Is it a good thing? Yeah, I think it's a good thing because Gulp is long in the tooth and it's old tech.
Yeah, I agree.
We're replacing it with something that nobody in the world uses except for Microsoft, which is Heft. So I don't know if this is a good or a bad thing. It remains to be seen. The betas are still going on. We'll see. Yeah. I hope there's no loss in functionality, but there is a way that you can upgrade for the short term to say, I still want to use Gulp, but that's going to go away in a few versions. So right now, the plan is for 1.22, it is just a tool chain update. Or as I tell people, nothing is going to change in your source folder if you've got a bunch of components you built. It's a tool chain only change. I would be surprised if there's no hands-on stuff you have to do to be able to migrate your existing projects over to this new tool chain.
Yeah, exactly. I think another thing I wanted to add, sort of to my previous comment of like, there was never anything on the roadmap, so why pay attention to it? There's sort of a boy who cried wolf sort of situation going on where I haven't paid attention to it. And now all of a sudden it's a big thing. And they're like, well, it's been out since June. I'm like, I didn't even know there was anything there to look at because I wasn't paying attention. But bigger deal is you know, Stefan and I do a lot of work, and I gotta say, he is amazing at understanding how to like put together, build tool chains and stuff. And we have a whole pattern now that we do that leverages NPM workspaces. And we had to sort of twist the SharePoint framework on its head to make it behave in an NPM workspace when we pair it with a style guide. And so we have to make some modifications and move our TS config out and all these other things. And you know, I said to him the other day, I'm like, I guess it's about time we see if this is going to work with 1.22 and what we're going to be able to do. So we have some work to do there to see if our whole thing is going to be broken too. Yeah, it's just, yeah.
We'll see.
Yep.
I would just say, stay tuned. If you're a SharePoint Framework person, here's what I've told a few people, right? About same thing what I just said a minute ago about like, it's nothing in source. The source folder is 100% going to be just in your tool chain stuff. So if you've done anything with Webpack, it's absolutely going to impact you in some way. If you've done anything with Gulp, it's absolutely going to affect you in some way. If you've externalized any of your packages, like if you're using Angular and you pull that in as an external dependency and not suck it into your bundle, it's going to affect you. How much so? We don't know yet. Number one, it's early. Number two, I mean, they say that, hey, builds are a hell of a lot faster. They're going to be faster this way than the old one. So far to me, every build I've done is 30 seconds slower. So, I mean, but it's beta, so we can't judge it on that until we get GA. Just stay tuned. I've got people that are like, we're getting ready to do a big refactoring to make sure that we go everything into a big mono repo. What are you saying we should do here? I'm like, I would not do that right now because you're absolutely I would be surprised if you don't have to revisit that after 1.22 comes out. I would wait. I'd wait on doing anything like that until you're ready. So just stay tuned. We'll see where it goes. This might be a doozy. So, yeah. And as somebody who has a course on SharePoint Framework, I am not looking forward to this update at all. It will affect every single project. But anyway, okay.
Oh, that's not fun.
So the next
Maybe
update,
you can throw AI at that.
I'm working on it. So the next update that we have, anything else you want to say about that one, Julie?
Nope. All good.
Okay. If you want to keep in touch with that, stay on the podcast. I guarantee we'll be talking about it. May even be talking about it next time when I have more time to play with the latest beta that we have right now. So, all right. The next version is going to be 1.23 or 2.1, who knows? But it's going to come out in February 2026. So we have 5 things on this list. So rapid fire here. Open sourcing the Yeoman generator solution templates via GitHub and opening them for community contributions. Number 2, a new open sourced SharePoint Framework CLI for replacing the existing Yeoman generator. You'll be able to introduce your company-specific templates or adjustments in the scaffolded baseline for the SharePoint Framework solutions and decoupling the CLI from the SharePoint Framework release. Command set improvements, basically grouping. There's grouping and other improvements, so who knows what that is. A new and edit panel override for lists. So support panel level overrides on the Microsoft lists and SharePoint lists with SharePoint Framework. So think like today when you create a new item on a list, it slides a panel in from the right-hand side. But if you want to do a SharePoint Framework form customizer, it takes over the entire page. Still, this is a little nebulous to me, but I think it's like we'll be able to also use the panel instead of just taking over the full page. Again, we'll see. And then the last one is a new debugging window, a new debugging toolbar, improving the in-page dev experience when the workbench is not used. The one that I don't really get, and I still haven't gotten it yet, is why are we having an open sourcing of the Yeoman generator templates if we're also doing a CLI for this? I thought the CLI was replacing the Yeoman generator template. So like
1 and 2 are in direct opposition of each other, are they not? I was whatever.
It's like, hey, number 1, we're going to let you finally open source those things that you want to do forever. Yes, sweet. And we're going to give you a new tool that's going to replace those. Wait, what? Why do I need?
Huh?
Why is there even any effort on the first one?
I don't.
I don't get it. and I know nobody from the team listens to this, so I can say it, but I'm just like, why? And frankly, I'm a little irritated that I didn't catch that when we were reviewing this blog post. And I was like, okay, cool. And then I read the second one. And I was like, okay, cool, I think. But
the second one is extremely, I know what it is because I saw a demo, but I'm so confused by the wording of the second one. There is a demo, though, that was done on the PMP call. So that Hugo actually did. So it's interesting.
I thought that was something different. I thought that was a different thing. I thought it was conceptually it was the same, but it was not the same thing.
Well, maybe I misunderstood. I thought it was a precursor to what they're going to build. It was like an example, a sample showing you what you would basically get. So not for nothing, that has a huge security implementation security issue, but let's table that.
Yeah, that is essentially that. So I think if you've ever done anything with React and you know what Create React App is, CRA, it's basically SPFx, but a CRA version of SPFx, which is interesting because that Create React App thing has been deprecated and nobody's doing it anymore. So,
well, you're running JavaScript potentially. There's many ways to do it. I'm not saying, but if you run it from GitHub, you are running code from a GitHub repository. Like if you don't go look at that every single time and verify that there's nothing malicious in it, well, no.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yellow flags, not red flags, but yellow flags up.
Mm-hmm. So, yes, yellow flag.
We'll see where that is. Quite honestly, I'm a little surprised that they're talking about building a brand new SharePoint Framework CLI to replace the Yeoman generator. And we're just now hearing about this in September/October 2025, and it's going to go GA in February. I don't buy it. I also don't buy it. Going back to our NPM audit thing, somebody asked me, what's your confidence level? They're going to eliminate all of them. Like, my confidence level? 0%, 0.0. Like, not even 0.0.1. Oh, there's two decimals. Can't do that. 0.001. And when I asked Microsoft about it, like, no, we're definitely doing all of them. And I'm like, okay, I hear you. Still don't believe it. We'll see.
Well, again, I'll go back to what I said before. I actually kind of believe it because they can just use heft and they can just, I mean, I'm not saying it'll be eliminated forever, but on day one, they probably can.
If
you build the whole thing yourself, you don't have, and you're not taking dependencies, do you have a dependency warning problem?
Oh, no, there's still dependencies. Like if you create a brand new project,
unless
something radically changed from beta 1 to beta 2, beta 1, I compared the node modules folder from beta 1 to an existing 1.21.1 GA project, and the beta version was only smaller by about 8%, and there's still over 300 NPM packages that are downloaded. So they're not shrinking the dependency tree at all. It's maybe updating it, but they're not shrinking it.
I would hesitate to say that they were ready for that to be the case when beta 1 came out. So I'm going to say. I don't know anything. I honestly don't. This is not even me prevaricating. I don't actually know anything, but I could see a scenario where they just replace with their own custom stuff anything that was a problem.
Well, don't let facts get in the way of a good story. So that's all I'll just say.
Right, exactly.
The other ones that they talked about here about the command set improvements, I'm like, okay, grouping, it's not a big deal to me. Edit panel and list. Okay,
this is actually a big deal to me. This is a very big deal to me because right now the form customizer uses the old SharePoint classic pages. Essentially, that's what you're getting. You're getting the old classic new edit and view form that they just gave you a div to party on. And it's been bothering me forever that was the case, because anytime you then put that on and disable the panel and disable the grid view or whatever, you just didn't have a good user experience. It was terrible. So being able to party on the pullout menu, the panel, that dialog panel, and get a div there, that is a huge improvement. If they do that and we get that, that's an absolutely huge improvement, especially if it keeps you from being able to trick it into using the original new and edit panels, because that's a big deal. if you're going to customize the forms, you want your forms to be the only ones that can be used on that list, is I guess what I'm trying to say.
I agree with that. Yeah. So, and then there's this thing about a new debugging tool,
I don't know what that's going to be.
I mean, aside from it being a debugging toolbar, so I'm like, okay, like what?
Doesn't that exist in the browser? Can't you just use browser debug tools? Why do you need anything else?
I'm kind of like the same. I'm a little bit like, so what is new here? Like, what do I need to see that's special about the SharePoint framework that I don't have today? I don't
know.
Maybe
I just don't know.
I don't know.
The workbench is useless and I've never used it. Do a dev build. Friggin' do a dev build, deploy it into your site collection, and work on that. Then you're supported in every SharePoint framework solution type that exists. It's just the better way to do development. I just don't understand what a debugging toolbar is going to bring to the party.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't either. I'm curious to see. The last one is version 1.24. This goes all the way to May of 2026. I don't want to say there's nothing here, but I'm not even thinking about this one, to be honest with you. It's got 2 items on it, and one of them is an asterisk. So the first one is navigation customizers. You have the option to override navigation nodes and or experiences with the SharePoint framework components.
I think we had this in Classic where you could create your own navigation controls.
Yeah, but I don't know what this is. Like, I've heard this discussed for like 2 or 3 years, but like, I thought the reason we couldn't do this before was because you didn't want to have developers go through and customize the UX and everything in a way that changed how SharePoint worked. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, isn't that what this does? So I don't know.
If you need custom navigation, you build it with an app customizer. We've been doing it. I don't understand why. The only thing I would say is, like, on the SharePoint page, like if you're on a SharePoint page, you get the toolbar at the top of a page. It would be really nice to be able to write custom menu items that go into some of these navigation spaces. So like you could add your own button, like translate this. I mean, this is a little dumb, but I'm trying to come up with something on the fly. Like if in the edit menu of a SharePoint page, you could put your own custom, like, translate this for Jerry's Automotive. And that button did something very specific for Jerry's Automotive's use of the SharePoint page. Do you know what I mean? Like, and you could automate that because you would have a Pages API. You know, that kind of thing. So I could see wanting to adjust navigation, put on the navigation menus your own commands, other than just the list commands that we get today, right? The command sets that we get today with lists. I could see wanting to be able to augment your custom code into menus everywhere in Microsoft 365. If that's what this means, I'm on board. If this means something else, I'm kind of like,
We'll see. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. The other thing that they said here on 1.24 is other features which will be shared in following blog posts. So that's more like a roadmap I'm used to with the SharePoint framework.
Yes, it is.
So we'll see about this. I will tell you, I just installed beta 2 of the SharePoint framework 1.22. I did a new version of NPM of Node, and I installed it, and then I created a brand new SharePoint framework web part using React, and now it shows 19 vulnerabilities. 3 of them are low, 16 are moderate. So that's down from 79 when I last checked. So progress.
Yep.
Progress.
And that they're moderate and low is positive.
Yep. So I'm curious to just play more with this and just see where this, and just see more what they've done, but still have lots of questions. let's see. What else do we have here? I think that's basically it on the whole roadmap of stuff that we got.
There's a nice little statement that says, we will continue to further innovation in the AI space. Shocking. Glad we had that bullet point on there. Can't have anything without AI being mentioned.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, whatever. It is what it is with Microsoft.
Did you want to talk about the feedback pieces?
Oh, the questions that I got? Yeah.
No. The in the workbench, new in-product feedback feature, which is visible on the online workbench for your input.
I thought that was part of the developer toolbar and developer experience and feedback. So that's the part I haven't seen that yet.
No, me neither. But again, I don't use the workbench, so will I see it? Probably not.
Couple things that I would say about this. So I do have I did get a bunch of questions from a bunch of people about that first one, about the SharePoint Framework roadmap. And if you're up for it, I mean, I wouldn't mind like just running through some of those real quick, just kind of answer them, because I've got them on an article here.
I think that's a great idea.
But some of the stuff that I've heard from people saying so far is, number one, so I'm going to just do this kind of a rapid fire. And Julie, if you want to say something, just like interrupt me, okay? So will upgrading to SharePoint Framework to SPFx 1.22 require changes to my source code? That, again, back to what I said, nothing inside of your source folder where like you're building web parts, extensions, whatever, none of your business logic, no. It's 100% going to be just based on the tool chain. But again, that's all based on betas. Another question, can I keep using my existing gulp configuration? So the answer is yes. You can still do that if you create a project. When you go to create a brand new project, say like yo@Microsoft/SharePoint, you can put an argument in there of --use gulp or --use -gulp, and it will continue to use gulp. But that is a temporary thing. So to me, if you're going to upgrade to 1.22, the only reason you're doing that is to get the new tool chain. So if you're going to keep using gulp, I'd ask you, what the hell are you doing? Why are you doing that? So to me, it's more 1.22. The one thing I advocated for that wasn't the case early on that I'm actually happy. One thing I'm really happy I was able to persevere on this one was take all of any new functionality, new features, changes to stuff, take all of that out of 1.22 and make 1.22 just a tool chain thing. So don't force anybody to get a feature to get to 1.22. So that way you can wait until February if you want to wait for a new feature. But this way you can say like, this is a maintenance thing only. Nothing should break. All of our code should be the exact same. So.
Well, that's good too, because it allows people to give them feedback on this heft situation and the change from gulp before it's to a point where it's, oh, you can't use gulp and there's these new things you want to use, but you don't have access to them because you're sort of locked out of what you would want, right? Yeah.
So another one, will the new toolchain actually eliminate NPM audit issues? And I'll quote what I said in my article. According to Microsoft, yes. But in my opinion, I think that's more of an aspiration. I know what I just said, 79 down to 19. That was news to me. They're making good progress with that. I still would be surprised if they get it all the way down. And as I said, I hope I'm pleasantly surprised and admit if I was wrong. But after 8 years of SharePoint Framework releases, let's just say my expectations are conditioned. So,
and unless they have no dependencies outside of Microsoft's own tools, I don't know how it would stay that way. Is the only.
No. As of beta 2, there are 1,741 packages that are still in the dependency tree of a brand new project. What happens to SPFx on premises? Nothing. This has nothing to do with on-prem. In fact, I don't think there is. I would not look to see Microsoft do anything with on-prem related to SharePoint Framework going forward. If it is, I'd be incredibly surprised, but I would not plan on anything.
I agree with you 100%. If you are on-prem and you have to be there, just get used to the fact that you don't get a new version of SharePoint Framework.
Yep. Will builds be faster on the new toolchain? We'll see. But like I said, now when I first tested it, I did see as part of the toolchain that they were doing they were running a test to run through all jest tests before they even ran the build, or they would run the build, then run all jest tests. And the way they were doing it, they disagree with me, but in my opinion, it's not the best way to do it, because they're compiling everything and then using jest to test all the compiled JavaScript. Another way of doing it, the way I do it, or I would recommend when I suggest my students do it, is get a transformer. Don't compile your project, just run your tests against TypeScript. And it uses a tool called TS Node that will transpile the TypeScript to JavaScript for jest to get. So that way I don't have to go through a build process. They say there's something that actually comes up that I can actually create false positives. I get what they say. I've never seen it in the wild. So to me, it's not an issue. That one process was adding an extra 30 seconds on the first build, and every subsequent build was adding an extra 4 seconds, even if there were 0 tests in your project. So I was like, this doesn't make sense. Take this out. So are they faster? Not as a beta 1, but who knows a beta 2. Actually, I can just run a build. I'll just do a heft build in that project. We'll see how long that takes. Also, can I build my own build process using Vite instead of Webpack? It's an interesting thing. We're not sure.
Right.
It's an interesting,
That's
it's an interesting
answer.
idea. Yeah. It's one that I'm definitely interested in doing, but I don't know. I think it's like, theoretically, I do think it's possible. But it's also, just because it's possible doesn't make sense. That I don't know, like what the benefit is. I do know there's some stuff that's going to have to change, that you would have to do to make that work. It's something I'm interested in doing, but we'll see. What about new and edit panel for override lists? I said I referred to that, so we've already talked about that. How customizable will the new heft-based build system be? Remains to be seen. Beta 2 is supposed to be different than beta 1, so again, it's running for the first time right now. Should I wait to start a new SharePoint Framework project until the 1.22 release? And there will be breaking changes in 1.22 beyond the build toolchain. So I don't think that there's any reason to wait to do a project. I don't think there's any reason to create a brand new project or to keep working on existing projects. I don't expect anything to actually break on your builds. But with all of that being said, it is all supposed to be build toolchain stuff. But we simply don't know what the migration story looks like today. We have ideas, we have concepts of ideas, but we don't exactly have the plans of how it's going to work. And a brand new build with the beta 2 Webpack, brand new project with React for web part, takes 36.5 seconds. And it looks like the testing has been removed. So
Something.
Yep.
What was it before?
I was seeing like 60 seconds.
Okay, so that's an
I think
improvement.
it was 60. I have to go back and look, but yeah. 36.57 seconds. And that is on a Mac Studio M1 Ultra. So the two M1 Pros fused together with 128 gigs RAM. All right. Well, Julie, it's a lot.
We did. We wrapped it.
Okay. We're at the top of the hour. So you know what we have to do is we have to do some picks so that we can really wrap it. Yes. So
Gotta do it quick.
Yeah.
Mine is fast. Mine is super fast.
What's yours?
So I used to watch a TV show called The Chew back. It was the first daytime television cooking themed show. And it featured Chef Michael Simon, Chef Mario Batali, Chef Carla Hall, Clinton Kelly, who was from What Not to Wear, and Daphne Oz, who's Dr. Oz's daughter. And so those 5 people did this sort of daytime television cooking / whatever show. And it was very entertaining. I love Michael Simon. I like Clinton Kelly actually quite a bit, but it was very entertaining. And Mario Batali had his whole Me Too movement issue and sort of disappeared and fell into the background. And the show then got canceled not too long after that. Anyway, there was a huge fan base that loved it. And Carla Hall, Michael Simon, and Clinton Kelly are very close friends at this point and apparently talked a lot. And they decided to start a podcast, and they're calling it Chewed Up, which I think is hilarious. And what is great about it is it's the same sort of idea. They do a Monday, Wednesday, Friday show, and they do an appetizer on Monday, a main on Wednesday, and a dessert on Friday. And they have sponsors and they do giveaways, and they're going to do a whole bunch. They're only 3 episodes in, but it's awesome because they can swear and they can do product placements, and they just are telling like stories about the industry and like insider things and things that have happened. Again, 3 stories in, but I'm absolutely loving the banter and the insider information. And like, it's just no hold bars because, you're on YouTube. You get to do whatever you want to do. There's no like corporate overlord network telling you what to say and not say and how do you do things. So there's just great stories about like food poisoning and like people getting almost lit on fire. It's really fascinating. Like backroom type stories, and it's fun. So that's my pick this week. I'm loving it. I'm absolutely deeply excited every time. And almost it's Wednesday, so I get a new episode tonight. I'm excited.
Awesome.
It's only half an hour too, so it's fun.
Oh, easy to get through those.
Exactly. All right.
Very cool.
Ooh, I see your pick. I just did that yesterday, and
I haven't done it yet. I'm going to.
Okay.
But every year, I don't even know who this is that does this. I should double check on that. Does it have anything say made by Devo?
No, it's a company name. Yeah, it's
Devo Graphics powered by Astro.
Devo Graphics. Yeah, they have a few surveys. They do 3 or 4. I can't remember.
Yeah,
they do 4 surveys.
So this group, whoever it is, they do something called the State of JavaScript Survey, and they do it every year, and it usually starts at the end of the year. Usually do it at the end of the year and collect results from all over from developers to figure out like, what kinds of things are you using? What do you like? I love the way they ask the questions because it's like, I've never used it. I've never heard of it, or I've never used it, but I want to try it, or I'm neutral on it, or I've used it. I will never use that again, or I've used it and I like it. And so it's like, and a lot of that stuff, and they cover everything, build tool chains, APIs, testing tools, mono repos. It's where I got the stat about, Rushstack and Heft are used like by like 2% of the people, whereas like Turbo Repo and Workspace, NPM and PnP and Yarn workspaces and NX are used by like an even market share between 25 and 45%. Well, this year they opened the survey up a little early. The survey is usually, they start at the very end of the year and they finish it around December. This year, actually, and they released the results, I think, early in the following year. This year, they've opened it up early. So the State of JavaScript 2025 that you can now go submit your results to. So the survey is open. The survey starts on October the 15th, but you can actually do it today. They are collecting results through November 15th, and they will publish the results of it on December the 15th. It's really good. I'm a really big fan of it. I definitely take a look at it. They've also got one that's running right now as well, the State of React. That survey is going on until, that survey ends, the day that we're recording this. So sorry you missed it. And those results will come out in early November. But they have other ones they do, State of HTML 2025, State of CSS 2025, State of Developers 2025, State of AI 2025. That's all the 2025 surveys. So they've got 6 different surveys that they run every year, and they do a fantastic job with this. So go to the show notes, watch Chewed Up, and while you're watching Chewed Up, if you can multitask and you're a developer, then do the State of JS survey. Make your voice heard. If you're a SharePoint Framework developer, you're a JavaScript person. Answer the damn survey. It helps.
Agreed.
So I love this
and they're
survey.
looking to have more women too this year. So I'm trying to get it out to get more women so we get a more balanced answer. So if you're a female developer and you happen to hear me talk about this, then go out and fill that out because they really need a more balanced answer so that we can see what's happening in the ecosystem.
And if you're a woman and you get a text from me randomly, I keep sending these out and just says, hey, if you're a woman, I'd really like to talk to you. If you're a woman and you're a developer, I'd really like to talk to you. And they're like, oh my God, another creep. And I'm like, no, I want you to go fill the survey. I'm kidding. I'm not really doing that. I'm not doing either of those things. I'm not reaching out to women, and I'm not reaching out to women about starting a survey. So that's not me. I'm not. I'm a joke.
Stop talking.
I'm not learning the first lesson of. You know what the first lesson of holes is? Have you heard this? It's not a dirty joke.
No.
The first lesson of holes is when you find yourself in one to stop digging.
Yes, you need to stop digging.
Yeah. Politicians.
The other thing I love about that survey is that if you don't know something, you can tag it as read later. Like it's an educational experience. So even if you're like, oh, I don't have time to take a survey. No, it's an educational. You are giving them information in a survey perspective, but you are getting an education out of it. So you will get more than you give in this, in my opinion.
I completely agree. It is my favorite thing to where when I see a new tool, I'm like, sweet. Or when the results come out, I'm like, this looks really cool. Veet, hey, this kind of looks interesting. Is this something I should look at? Or what about that bun thing? Should I look at this? And you go to the survey and you're like going, holy crap. Like everybody else is looking at Veet too. Maybe I should actually take a look at this. Or bun's like going, bun's getting all this attention. Like, oh, but nobody's really using it. Okay, well, I mean, it doesn't pass judgment on it, but it allows you to kind of take a heartbeat on what the rest of your community is doing.
But at least be knowledgeable enough to have a conversation about it too.
Bingo. There you go.
Yeah.
Cool. Julie,
Alrighty.
That was a wrap. Oh my gosh, we went for an hour and 10 minutes. Again, we never do this short.
Our intro was so long this time, though.
I know. That's why we do chapters, people. That's why you can skip our banter if you don't like it. At any rate.
Although there was a lot of good content in our banter this time, so.
Well, we're very opinionated, too.
Yeah, you know
Both
us.
our content and just in general of creating that content.
Shocking.
All right, Julie,
All right.
I will talk to you the week of the Collab Days New England.
Yeah,
we'll record early
October
again
17th.
that week.
October 7th. Alrighty. Sounds great.
Good to see you. Did you like this episode? Please like and share it with your friends. We're on YouTube, Blue Sky, and LinkedIn. You'll find all the links in the video description below. And if you have a question, head over to our site at codedeploygo.live, where you can send it in. Also, sign up for our mailing list on our site at codedeploygo.live to learn about future episodes, opportunities for listeners, and get the show notes from each episode sent straight to your inbox. We'll be back with another episode in 2 weeks.